the argument then becomes, well, we don't know who wrote the Gospels. The Gospels are anonymous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I want to do is I want to again go through a list of what the early church fathers taught about who wrote the Gospels, and this is just going to take a second to do, and I want to get this information out there. And if any of you guys want this slideshow, you can just email me, and I don't have a problem at all sending it to you. This was the conclusion from the last thing. More evidence the Gospels than the work from antiquity. Wait. This isn't it, is it? Yes, it was. Okay, so yeah, because we just went through that. All right, so you have more evidence the Gospels than any other work from that time period. The attestation of the church fathers to the deity of Christ is early. They all proclaim the deity of Christ. And then let's look at the Gospels themselves. Now, here, we've looked at some of these charts here that show you the succession or the apostolic succession. For example, John teaches Polycarp. Polycarp teaches Irenaeus. And then Irenaeus teaches Hippolytus, Martyr, and then Justin Martyr teaches Tatian, who wrote the Diatessaron. And then, of course, you have Clement of Alexander. But for Matthew, let's look at the evidence for Matthew. Matthew, you have internal evidence within the gospel itself showing that Matthew wrote Matthew, all of the terms, because Matthew was a tax collector, so you're going to have all kinds of references to money there that would not be normally used by your layman. And then you have Papias, who was a student of John, knew Polycarp. Matthew compiled the sayings of Christ in the English language. And then it doesn't mention any other church disputes over there's no other disputes out there over who wrote Matthew. And then, Irenaeus, who was a student of Polycarp, said that Matthew wrote Matthew. Let me get this banner off here so you guys can see the whole thing. Sorry about that. Okay, and then you have Mark. Of course, Irenaeus, again, mentions Mark as being the disciple who wrote Mark. Tertullian, Clement of Alexander, all of them attest to Mark saying that. Origen said he does. Justin Martyr says he does. And then the anti-Marcionite prologue to Mark has that on there. And then you have Luke. Of course, Luke says that he wrote Luke and the Acts. Then you have Irenaeus attesting to Luke. You have Justin Martyr. The Martyrian canon lists Luke. And then John, you have Irenaeus mentioning that. Tatian mentions that. Tertullian mentions that. Clement of Alexander mentions that. Origen says that John wrote John. Theophilus of Antioch mentions it, and of course the anti-Marcionite prologue also. But here's what's really interesting, and here's my favorite one: the Seerah of Muhammad, Sirat Rasul Allah, mentions that John wrote the Gospel of John. So even in the Seerah, the Islamic literature, you're having attestation about. The attestation. Golly, where did I go? Here we go. There we are. You have attestation not only from the early church fathers, but you're also having in the biography of Muhammad. They admit that John wrote John. So if you have a gospel that says that Jesus Christ is God incarnate, that Jesus Christ died on the cross, and then you're saying that, hey, that's the gospel. It's not some Injil that they're making up. I would think that would be semi-problematic, and if there was somebody in the chat, any Muslims there in chat would like to challenge that, I would really like to hear what. Let's see. I'm not here to argue, and what I say is of the Bible. Well, of course, whatever you say of the Bible is not necessarily true, though. That's kind of the biggie there. Okay. Any comments on that?
I challenge any Muslim to have that kind of a history behind their book, because we have the history all the way from the 1st century. I challenge any Muslim to prove that kind of a history behind the Quran or Hadith, because you cannot trace that. And we have the actual documents. I mean, you can go back that far. It's incredible to say you can read something from 150. You can read something from that time period You can read the histories from that time period. Today, it's easy to do. I find that's one of the things I love about history. You can go back and you can read that stuff. It's not hard to do. It's easy to obtain. Most of the church fathers, you can just go online and find that stuff online. If you're just looking for Tertullian, I tell everybody you've got to read Adversus Praxis. Oh, it is beautiful. Justin Martyr's apologies, they're interesting, they're deep. Tertullian's works, I love them. I'm sorry, I love apologists from the 2nd century.
Yeah, but they can put you to sleep really quick too.
Eric, I gave you a couple of memes on Tertullian. Do you want to share what he said on those or no?
Where do you have? Are they in Messenger?
Yes, sir. I sent them to you all yesterday.
Okay, let me. Oh my. Okay. Holy crap. What the heck? There's like
I sent you like a mile of them, didn't I?
No, I haven't. I have not been.
I think it's number 4, 5, 6, and 7. Because I remember telling you that all 4, 5, 6, and 7 are Tertullian, and I love what he says.
All right, let's put this up here. Okay, there we go. Muhammad Hijab is saying in the first.
Can you zoom in?
No, I can't. Well, can I?
Yeah, you should be able to.
How do I zoom in on? Here, let's try that.
Control. There you go. Woohoo!
Okay, that's as big as it's getting. Can you guys read that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Muhammad Hijab is saying in the first 300 years of the Church Fathers didn't mention the Trinity. But then you get to Tertullian. All scriptures give clear proof of the Trinity, and is from these that our principle is deduced. The distinction of the Trinity is quite clearly displayed. So that comes from there's a heresy.
Adversus Praxis, and the adversus means against.
Okay.
So, yes.
And that was
Tertullian did create the word Trinity. So that's the truth.
Really?
Yes.
So he was the first one to say it? Okay.
Yes, he's the first one to create the term. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is a Trinity, though I don't call myself Trinitarian because they want to block me in a box. Yeah, right.
I don't like the term Trinitarian.
I don't care.
I think it's not an accurate term.
What's not an accurate term? Say that again, Paul.
Trinitarian. I think that has been abused and misused in so many ways. Trinity, you can be a believer in the Trinity, and I think that concept, depending on who is using it, it has been used for heretical terms. So you have to be careful.
Yes. Yeah. Can we read the next one?
Yeah. Let's see. As a Muslim, Jesus is the one who brought the Injil, good news to those who believe his teachings, while John and other Gospels is later on was brought forward as Holy New Testament, which contradicts.
Yeah, John is the one that is defended by the followers of Islam as being the author of John. So does it matter? If he was the apostle that was loved, don't you think he would have the best?
And you guys don't even have the Injil, so you're fighting with like nothing. Where is this Injil supposed to be at, Yahya? Come on with us, Yahya. Don't be afraid. Eric's giving you the link.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. When we start talking about this Injil shtick, that it's often thrown out there.
Doesn't exist.
Well,
I got the bingo cards ready if you want. We're
There's no proof
to it. Yeah.
You got the what?
Bingo cards the Muslim bingo cards ready if a Muslim's coming.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
We'll get that in jail.
I would just like one reference to the Injil outside of Islamic literature. Something in the 1st century that talks about the Injil given to Jesus. Anything would be nice, but see, this is the thing that when you start asking for evidence or any type of or manuscript evidence, can we have that? By citing the Injil, by citing that, what you're doing is you're citing a pink unicorn is what you're doing. You're just inventing something to conform to the story that has been made up to begin with. If there was somebody mentioning in the 1st century, 2nd century, 3rd century, something about a separate gospel given to Jesus Christ, then you might have a point. But the fact is there's nothing there. So to say that the Injil was given to Jesus because it only says it in a Quran, which was supposedly written 600 years later, which wasn't, it was written about 400 years later because we have a Quran that predates the Quran. It doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that there's no references to the Injil early at all. And if there is, all you have to do is just cite them. Just post it in the chat, and I'll put it right up here on the screen. No problem. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up this other meme that Connie sent me. Let's see here. Muhammad Hijab is saying in the first three. Okay, so here again have Tertullian. He is the Son of God and is called God from unity of substance with God. Thus Christ is spirit of spirit and God of God, is the light of light, is kindled. This sounds an awful lot like the Nicene Creed. That which has come forth out of God is at once God and the Son of God, and the two are one. He is made a second in manner of existence and position, not in nature, and he did not withdraw from the original source, but went forth. So again, here you have Tertullian. Tertullian is an early church father, citing the Trinity, citing Jesus as
God of God. Love it.
Yeah.